Books, this is 1901. The old days are gone, and you don't know it.
What were you doing on the night of October 5th, 1902?
You know, they stopped making these in 1903.
Damn.
There's a 1904 photo hung in the Killick Library.
In 1905, there were hundreds of professors renowned for their study of the universe.
It was passed in 1906.
When the place was built in 1907, there was very little interest in winter sports.
The Browns didn't come to Hill Valley until 1908, and then they were the Von Brauns.
You have been a participant in the biggest interdimensional cross-rip since the Tunguska Blast of 1909.
It's grand to be an Englishman in 1910.
Professor Heydrich Findelmeyer, the University of Zurich, 1911.
April 14th, 1912.
He sent her home for the rains in 1910. Didn't tell her they were over till 1913.
I came to America in 1914.
Oliver Wells, born Portland, Maine, March the 2nd, 1915.
In 1916, at a dinner in his honor, he was poisoned, shot, stabbed, clubbed, castrated, and finally drowned.
Since 1917, there have only been 970 medals awarded.
Who is it?
The princess, the Russian Grand Duchess who died in 1918.
I love baseball ever since Arnold Rothstein fixed the World Series in 1919.
I carried diphtheria bacilli in the womb till 1920.
This is a 1921 Burgundy.
Back in 1922, they were originally called Coon Chicken Inn.
In 1923, a Greek dealer named Carlos Constantinides found it in an obscure shop.
In November of 1924, during a weekend yacht party bound for San Diego, a mysterious death occurred within the Hollywood community.
Cost us our first month's profits. That was back in 1925.
I know it's not 1926. I just need it to be.
Every star in Hollywood's heaven is here to make Monumental Pictures' premiere of The Royal Rascal, the outstanding event of 1927.
Answer as quickly as you can. How old is a person born in 1928?
You know, when I used to drive a hack, I had a pal who crossed that bridge back in 1929, and ain't never heard from him since.
Put this in the Library of Congress right away. Folk Music Section 1930, right away, please.
But I once spent 6 weeks on the road with him. In the winter of 1931.
You never threatened to kill Frank Bennett. At his home in front of his hired man in June of 1932.
This was published in 1933. There were covens in Europe. That's what they're called.
We have a white in 1934, we have a red in 1934.
1935, that takes the prize.
From 1936 until 63, when the prison closed, there were 14 attempts.
You know how long I graduated high school? June 1937. Holy cow!
We need breathing room. Earth, Hitler, 1938.
How's that for a bit of homespun philosophy?
Reader's Digest, April 1939.
Only that the Germans first tried to take Nijmegen Bridge themselves back in 1940 and got slaughtered.
It's December 1941 in Casablanca. What time is it in New York?
It's 1942, right? He's caught in Leningrad.
The experiment took place on a ship in the Philadelphia harbor. It was 1943, October.
I was born on April 4th, 1944.
So 1,100 men went in the war. 316 men come out. The Sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945.
1946, Mandrake. How does that coincide with your post-war commie conspiracy, huh?
Which would go nicely with a bottle of Cheval Blanc, 1947.
I'm afraid
His underwear, all of the finest cloth. The factory was destroyed by fire in 1948.
I first saw her in 1949.
Must have been 1950 then.
1951. Back in Sequoia National Park. Had a foot on her. 37 inches. Heel to toe.
You know, 1952, they ranked me number 5.
Oh, look at that. The great jerk-off case of 1953.
Why, as a pup, I myself fetched $30,000 from the black market. It was $1954.
I'm sure that in 1985, plutonium was available in every corner drugstore, but in 1955, it's a little hard to come by.
So said the Times Book Review, October 1st, 1956.
You look like your head fell on the cheese dip back in 1957.
You know what date is on this coin? No. 1958.
November 14th, 1959. 3 years ago.
1960 was the year I got my first apartment and my first phone book.
The 1961 Ferrari 250 GT, California.
In 1962, they was going to open up. The water was bad.
But all of that ended on the 22nd of November, 1963.
However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees before top dead center.
They found a little shortage in his accounts, but he asked me to wait for him. He'll be out in 1965.
Excuse me? This 1966 maroon Ford Galaxy 500. You driving this car?
My job is to acclimatize you to the 90s. You know, a lot's changed since 1967.
It's like it's 1968 or 67 or 66.
The last miracle I did was the 1969 Mets. Before that, I think you have to go back to the Red Sea.
Say, Chris, how'd you know we'd be living on Mars by 1970?
Beginning in the spring of 1971, almost a year before he left the Justice Department to become President Nixon's campaign manager.
Isn't my house classic? The columns date all the way back to 1972.
1973 Cadillac Coupe de Ville for $62.99. And we'll see you all again in 1974.
I hate to tell you, this is 1975. You know, the NEAT went out, I would say, at the turn of the century.
33 busts since 1976. 11 for armed robbery, 3 convictions, 2 out of a 3 to 5 year beef in Attica.
This thing caused the 1977 New York blackout.
I haven't felt that good since Archie Gamble scored against Holland in 1978.
I don't remember a time when I didn't want to be a police officer, apart from the summer of 1979 when I wanted to be Kermit the Frog.
Do you like Phil Collins? I've been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980 album, Duke.
On the afternoon of July 8, 1981, he complained of chest pains and was taken to the dispensary.
So in the late fall of 1982, when I heard that Tap was releasing a new album called Smell the Glove,
I have to remember that I bought it for someone in the fall of 1983, pile.
April the 4th, 1984.
In my position as chief factory planner,
I think.
Somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985.
It's 1986, man. 8 years since that night.
I don't get out now to 1987.
Squeezed and pulled and hurt my neck in 1988.
Mooby, the golden calf. Created by Nancy Goldruff, a former kindergarten teacher in 1989.
No, 1996 is the future. This is 1990.
So let's have a big, paranoid, malignant round of applause for United Northfield Culcitate Internal Research Memorandum number 229, June 19th, 1991.
Jack, that is a 1992 Byron. Right. It's really rare, okay? I've been saving it.
All right.
Please don't open it. No.
I get $25 in 1993, so that'll be good.
From 1991 to 1994, I supposedly worked for all 6 companies.
Back in 1995, short-sighted retailers did not order enough dolls to meet demand.
Never told you how the Enterprise picked up the Botany Bay Lost in Space from the year 1996.
The system goes online on August 4th, 1997.
Zany Janie, winner of this year's trials at Watkins Glen, placed second in 1998.
When? You believe it's the year 1999.
I sit in a cubicle, and I update bank software for the 2000 switch.
What's that?